What is up, guys? It's your friendly neighborhood Vex here, giving you another interesting build. Now there's a lot of things going on in this build, bit technical but a ton of fun to use, guys. Honestly, this build is definitely something you want to try. This is definitely something that is good for sustain, solo activity, for PvE specifically, and you can get away with doing a lot of decent damage, as well as you'll have a lot of sustain. You're getting bonus armor from different aspects, so that will be aspects from using shock, using other status effects including confusion, and as well as you can see in the background, the pulse, which does a lot of things at once, which I will be explaining in a lot more detail later on in this video. But as you can see, I'm shrugging off a lot of damage and I am just plowing through all enemies. And with that said, just overall, you'll have good crowd control. You'll be constantly gaining bonus armor from a lot of aspects, and you will be surviving a lot of content within the Division 2. And if you've been following my channel previously, I tend to make builds out of the meta to find you in exciting builds. Now have a look at this. This is the build absolutely shredding the enemy as they come through. And the builds that I normally make the game a lot more exciting and fun to play. Not just your generic standard builds, as you can imagine, like for example Striker and so on, but this one will definitely have you hooked once you do try it out. Now as you can see in the back, you can see I'm taking on quite a few enemies, and you still have the flexibility of running around and not being able to stay just in cover only, but go head to head with a Chunga or any other tank. As you can see in the background, it is absolutely amazing and absolutely fun to use. Now this is definitely something you need to try out, guys. Yep, it does not stop there. It even includes status effects. Yep, you heard correct, status effects. Now when I throw out my foam grenade, guess what happens? Bonus armor, guys. I'm getting bonus armor, and I'm sharing my bonus armor with my allies as well, which is insane. Without any further delay, let's get into this crazy build. So strapping, guys, we're going to get straight into the build. So the first piece is the name backpack called the Levitaire, with the perfect galvanized on the backpack. And this is where you're getting your bonus armor and sharing it amongst your allies. Next, we got the Heartbreaker set. So that's the 4-piece set. I went for the gloves. It's got armor core, critical hit damage on there. And there you will see a trend. So the knee pad has the same, as well as the holster has critical hit, chance or damage, and armor core on there. And then I went for the chest piece for the stacks for the damage to increase, which I'll explain later. And then next we have the mask called the Catalyst Mask, which gives you the status effect and weapon damage when you do apply a status effect to the enemy or you receive one. Now the main gun you'll be using is an exotic called the Saint Elmos assault rifle, and this comes with the talent which gives you shock rounds, which procs your backpack, and I'll explain that in detail later. Your sidearm and your secondary weapon entirely up to you, but you must have the Banshee Pulse, which is part of the gunner specialization. You need this for your build to work perfectly. And then the secondary skill is entirely up to you, so I went for the deflector drone, but you can have a different skill if you like. And like I mentioned before, the gunner specialization is what you need on the build. Now lastly, we're going to be talking about the critical hit chance and damage. First, the critical hit chance is 55% and the critical hit damage is 108. But now we're going to scoot on over to the firing range, and this is where it gets very, very, very juicy, guys. So it's deep dive time now, guys. So let's talk about the Heartbreaker set. So when you do shoot someone in the head, you will proc the pulse, and that is from this part of the section of the build. Once that happens, you start shooting the enemy, you'll be receiving bonus armor as stacked. Now from your Saint Elmos engine and the shock talent, you'll be activating the backpack, which is called Perfect Galvanized. Also the mask, where you'll be getting extra damage and status effect. But hold on to your hats now, guys. This is where it gets very interesting. So you know your Banshee Pulse activates 3 things. So your backpack, the Heartbreaker set, as well as your mask as well. Imagine. But you're thinking, but how? But this is how it does. It confuses, pulses, and status effects all in one go. Insane, right? But there's another layer. So imagine your Saint Elmos engine that gives a shock. It activates your backpack as well as the mask as well. Oh, and guess what? If you have your foam grenade as well, that's another status effect. And yep, on top of that, it boosts the backpack. Absolutely incredible. So with that said, let's see everything in action. So now when I throw my foam grenade, yep, that's bonus armor, activating my backpack. I shoot, I'm making a status effect with the shock. That's activating my backpack. And then last but not least, if I do decide to use my pulse, guess what? Activating the backpack. So this is just how insane this build is. And just to top it off, the cooldown for the backpack galvanized for the bonus armor is only 10 seconds. So imagine that every 10 seconds, you could be giving yourself bonus armor as well as bonus armor to your fellow agents, which is absolutely crazy. So with that all said, the next section I'm going to be talking about is the status effects. Now, with the two pieces that you'll be receiving status effects from would be the mask and the backpack. You get a base 10% from each as a core attribute. Now once the mask is activated, that's 12 times 2, and that will give you 24% status effects. Now let's add the 24 with the 2 core base stats on both of the pieces to altogether will give you as grand total of 44% status effects, and that's on an armor build. Insane, right? But if you guys are new to the channel, go ahead, smash that bell notification and subscribe. And like always, I'll be bringing more interesting builds in the future, but I'll leave you with some more footage of the mind-blowing build. Agents, it's been a pleasure. See you soon. Peace.
Another agent has joined your group. Enemy transmission intercepted. Detected.
Steady.